Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us today. I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's webinar, We Belong in College, How Students Can Help Each Other Persist by Sharing Their Stories. My name is Zinnia Henderson. I'm NCAN's Director of Member and Partner Engagement, and I'm joined today by my colleagues, Lindsay Barclay, our Member Services Manager, and Jamise Carroll, our Member Services Associate. I wanted to invite anyone who's not familiar with NCAN to visit our website at www.ncan.org. We did recently go a slight name change from National College Access Network to National College Attainment Network to reflect our commitment to post-secondary success for all of our students. So we're thrilled to have a really awesome group of folks today leading this webinar. But before I pass it along to our presenters, just want to remind everyone of a few housekeeping items about today's webinar. All audience members are muted, and we do this to help reduce background noise and any unanticipated disruptions. There will be several videos, so we do hope that your audio and your visuals are all up to par. And we do encourage you to stay on the screen again to see some of the really great information that's going to be shown by video. And we will have a Q&A at the end that my colleague Jamise will facilitate. You will be able to type in your questions in the questions box found on the right-hand side of your control panel. You can ask anything throughout as well. We've got our Member Services Manager, Lindsay, who will help address any questions throughout as well, in case you missed something previously and are just joining. And then finally, a quick reminder that this webinar is being recorded and it will be archived on NCAN's website under our events and training webpage. Our webinars are available to members, and so you will need to use your member username and password to access the recording. And for those of you who may not be members and are interested in joining, please do check out our website. We offer lots of professional development opportunities for members. We've got lots of events coming up, both a big annual conference this year in September, as well as some regional events that are coming up this spring. We'd love to engage with you, and so if there's any questions that you might have about membership, you are welcome to contact Lindsay Barclay. And again, you can always find us on our website. So without further ado, I'd like to let you all know who's going to be leading our webinar today. We've got John Branham, Executive Director at Get Schooled. We have Caroline Jimenez, who is the main subject in the film and a college senior. Dwayne Britton, an educator from New Dorp High School. We have Julianne Dressner, who's the Director of Personal Statement. And so without further ado, I will pass it along to John Branham from Get Schooled. And again, welcome everyone.
Hey, thanks so much, Zinnia, and thanks everyone for joining us today. We're really delighted to be with you. And a special thank you to NCAN for hosting today's webinar. We really appreciate y'all's support, and you're just terrific partners. So as Zinnia mentioned, my name is John Branham. I'm the Executive Director of Get Schooled. For those of you who don't know, Get Schooled is an all-digital college and career counselor, and we're free. We're based in Seattle, but we work all across the country, helping to ensure that young people are lifted up and achieve their full potential by going to college and finding success in their first jobs. So today we're really excited to share with each one of you the We Belong in College campaign, and we're going to, we've got, I think, hopefully a fairly dynamic and interesting presentation. We're going to be showing a number of videos. And so hopefully it'll be engaging. And then, as Zinnia mentioned, we've got some Q&A time at the end. So I'm going to be navigating us through today's conversation and doing handoffs to all of my colleagues who will be presenting. And so hopefully this will all work well. We're actually going to get started by showing you a promotional video, and then we'll start talking. So give me 1 second here.
Hi. Hello. Hi, everyone.
What's up, everybody?
This is my We Belong in College story.
I remember my guidance counselor looking at that list and then looking at me and saying, I don't think you should apply to college at all.
I couldn't reach my mother.
She didn't want to give me those documents.
If applying is so hard, right? What happens when I get there?
I'm not even smart enough.
I ended up not having where to live for a few months.
I didn't know where I fit in.
I questioned
whether or not I belong.
But then I realized that my friends are struggling too.
I didn't have enough preparation.
The system's jacked up, not me.
I went to her office, we hugged, we cried.
I've never been more proud of my decision to just keep on persisting.
We do belong in college.
I belong in college.
I belong in college.
I belong in college.
We all belong in college.
Okay, thank you for that. So that was a little promo video of the We Belong in College campaign. Hopefully you felt the energy and the spirit behind the campaign. We think it's really exciting, right? It's based on this premise that can sharing your challenges in navigating to and through college with someone else inspire them and support them to also go to college or to persist? And the answer, of course, is yes. So this is why we created this campaign. We're going to hear a little bit more about some of the background behind it today. So again, that compelling research that when a young person shares that challenge that they've had and how they overcame that challenge with someone else, another young person, that the chances that both of them will persist through college increases. And it's extraordinarily powerful. So getting to and through college isn't easy, right? We know this. Everyone on the phone knows this. And so we really want to make sure that young people understand that they're not alone in the challenge. And so let me actually introduce you to Caroline, who is one of the subjects in the film and the subjects in the campaign. So Caroline, you want to share a little bit with us?
Hi everyone, this is Caroline. Thank you, John. As John said briefly, there's a lot of struggles that low-income students of color face, and often those struggles keep them away from getting a college degree or even going to college at all, which is why in the first place we created the personal statement film, which is about me and two other high school seniors who worked as college counselors in our own high schools to get our friends and ourselves to college. One of the things that you see in the film is that there's a lot of barriers that we face that want to keep us away from getting to college. But the most important thing that you also see in the film is how we managed to persevere, to be persistent, and overcome those barriers, because we thought to ourselves, there's nothing getting in the way of our education. John, can you move to the next slide? All right. So through the film's impact, we had the chance to travel across the country to share the film with students and also share our stories. We saw that students' reaction were tremendously phenomenal. Many students came up to me crying, telling me that they were motivated enough to overcome their struggles because they saw that I made it too. And that's when we also came across this research, We Belong in research, which says that it's tremendously helpful for students to know that they're not alone and that we all struggle. And that when students share the story and their advice, their outcomes improve tremendously. So that we had like sort of an epiphany when we thought to ourselves, we're only doing half of the work with the film's impact. Imagine the impact that we could have if we asked every single student across the country to share their story and advice. So that's what the We Belong In campaign is all about. It's about students sharing the story of persistence, so that every single student in America and across the globe knows that they're not alone, and that we all struggle, and that we all belong in college no matter the cost. So, Jen, I'm going to pass it back to you now.
Wonderful, thank you, Caroline. And I still remember the first days when I met Caroline and Julie, and it was really exciting when we came to sort of realize the power of both the film, the idea of the campaign, and then partnership with Get Schooled to help bring this to life. So let's take a second and actually watch a video here. Let me click on this. Introducing the campaign. Here we go.
Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. Sharing your story can change the world. I have experienced it firsthand by sharing my story in the film Personal Statement. In the film, you see how I almost gave up on my college dreams because when I was applying, I was bumping up against so many obstacles, I started to question whether I even belonged in college. After seeing the film, students come up to me sometimes crying, saying they relate so much, and they now feel that they too can beat the odds. And believe it or not, there's super dope research that proves sharing our stories really can change the world. According to the research, just knowing that we all struggle and we all question whether we belong truly helps. It makes it more likely that we will persist when we find ourselves in those moments of despair. The research also found that when students share their own stories because they want to help others, the chances of all of us succeeding increases even more. That's remarkable. Do you realize what that means? If we all share our stories, we can improve the odds that students like us get to and through college. That's why we created the We Belong in College campaign, and here's how it works. All you have to do is share your story through a video or a written post. Tell a story about a time when you questioned whether you belong in college, either while applying or when you were in college, and include in your story how you managed to persist and how you came to believe that you do belong in college. For inspiration, you can watch some of the videos that other students have already shared. And don't forget, when you post, to use the hashtag WeBelongInCollege, because we do. We do belong in college.
All right, so hopefully you got the sense of that, Enoch's energy there. He's Caroline's colleague, just a really terrific young person who, struggled himself to navigate through, and then was part of the inspiration for the We Belong in College campaign. So now what we're going to do, hopefully you got to have a good sense of what the campaign is about. Now we're actually going to show you a sample video of, what are we really talking about here? What does it look like when a young person makes one of these videos? And we're actually going to show you Caroline's video here in just a second.
This is my We Belong in College story. During middle school and high school, I was bullied by the guys because I'm a lesbian that dresses as a boy. During my college research, I learned that there are all-women schools out there, and I came across a school called Smith College. I fell in love with it the moment I saw it on the computer, but I fell in love with it even more when I visited because of the amount of resources that it offered to students, and because there were people there that looked just like me. So after my visit, Smith became the top choice in my college list and my dream school. So I waited for the decision. The decision came, and it turned out that I didn't get in. I collapsed emotionally to the point where I missed school for a couple of days. During those days, my college counselor came to me, and she made me realize that just because I didn't get into my dream school doesn't mean that my life has ended, because it's just the end of one dream. She also reminded me why I was doing this for and why I wanted to go to college so bad. So I went back and looked at my other options, and I decided to go to a community college near me. When I got there, it didn't take long for me to feel like I belong because the professors value me, the students made me feel like family. And it turned out that I wasn't feeling so bad anymore because even though my dream school rejected me, a community college gave me shelter. With this, I just want you to take away that just because you don't get into your dream school doesn't mean that your life has ended. It's just the end of one dream. Keep on believing in yourself, and always remember that there are other options out there. And always remember, please, that we belong in college.
As always, I've seen that video a number of times since Caroline produced it, and it always gets me. I mean, I think it's just such a powerful story of the struggles that Caroline endured, but how she overcame, and that really captures the spirit of this campaign. And hopefully, you also noticed, it's not an edited film. It's relatively short. It's really focused on what was the challenge and how did she overcome it, and it feels real. And we've got lots of these videos curated. And the big idea here is that millions of or tens of thousands of young people all across the country will create their own videos to really inspire both themselves and their friends and family to persist. So with that, I actually want to introduce Julie, who is the filmmaker behind Personal Statement, the film that inspired the We Belong in College campaign. Julie, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. But do you mind advancing to the next slide?
You bet. Happy to.
Okay. So I just want to, fill in a little bit that, on our website, the We Belong in College campaign website, which is WeBelongInCollege.com. That's where you can find, everything, a student or an educator needs to, create your own We Belong in College story or engage your students in doing that. One of the things is, we really spell out, there's one tab, which is the whole page just about how to create your own story. And we point out that you want to talk about a time when you struggled and questioned if you belonged, explain how you overcame that and managed to persist, and then sharing, advice for other students who may be in similar circumstances. And the way that every student's story can help other students is by when they post it on social media, if you use the hashtag We Belong in College, anyone can find your story and benefit from it. Do you want to go to the next slide, John? Okay. Okay. John, do you want to talk about the scholarships?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. Happy to. So, we are excited. One of our partners on the campaign is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they have generously put forward $25,000 for scholarships. So we're actually well positioned to give out 25 $1,000 scholarships to people who, young people who make these films and then actually submit them for consideration. The idea here is to really inspire more young people to do the videos and to incentivize those students who want to submit them. And of course, the scholarships can be used then to go to college.
Okay, then if you go to the next slide, we have also created a free curriculum, We Belong in College curriculum, that on the website, if you go there, you'll see there's a separate section for resources for educators. You'll see that you can download, starting on March 9th, you'll be able to download the curriculum, which is free, which includes like a PowerPoint curriculum deck. We've tested the curriculum in classrooms with educators, and what we realized is that they were creating their own PowerPoint slides and decks, and we thought, well, why don't we create a curriculum deck as beautiful as the one we put together for this webinar, so that the whole curriculum is available in slides to really facilitate the process in the classroom. And what the curriculum does is it enables educators to introduce the We Belong in College campaign to your students in the classroom, engage them in creating their own We Belong in College stories. And the curriculum unit is the power of it is amplified because it incorporates a screening of the film Personal Statement into the process, which we found makes it even more of a powerful experience for students when they then, after seeing Caroline and Enoch's and Christine's stories shared, it's yet more powerful when then they are asked to share their own. So educators who want to use the curriculum can request on the website, there's a form, a free copy of the film, thanks to the support we have from the Gates Foundation. We're able to provide 1,500 free copies of the film to educators who want to use the curriculum. And then if for any reason you don't have enough time to show the film, and yet you want to engage students in creating their own We Belong in College stories, you still can. There's a lesson plan that doesn't incorporate a screening of the film. And now I would like to pass it to Dwayne Britton, who is an educator who has actually used the curriculum in his school with his students to talk a bit about the experience that he had.
Hi, my name is Dwayne Britton. I'm a school social worker in Staten Island, New York, and my principal saw the Personal Statement film and felt the tremendous value that it would be to our staff. So she had us watch it during an afternoon professional development session. And then we got to meet Julie, we got to meet Caroline, and that changed everything for the staff to the point where we wanted to do more to help. And Julie had a really good tool for us to be able to help with the curriculum. So I was able to model the lesson plan after watching the film with my students. And I believe the best use of the curriculum is to roll it into everyday classroom use. So whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in the guidance office, the social workers, there's little pieces that you can borrow that give the students a voice that they previously didn't realize that they might have had. So one of the big parts was that the students saw that they had familiarity and commonality with their classmates that wasn't identified prior to watching. So the students who had obvious roadblocks were able to be like, hey, like, I know I had these roadblocks. I just saw 3 people who had roadblocks and they were able to overcome it, so I can do the same. But another interesting thing that happened are the students who had smaller roadblocks where their parents make enough money that the government decides like, hey, you don't get as much aid, but it still creates a little bit of tension for the students. They were able to see that, hey, I too can overcome this problem and figure out exactly where I belong in school. So normalizing those feelings were really big for our students to show that all of their problems, perceived, real, are they have value to them. So the curriculum also broke down the process of applying. And for me, I like anything that gives students both soft skills and hard skills. So be able to talk about what they're feeling, talk about what they're going through, but then the tools and the steps to go from point A to point B, realizing that there's a path and creating it on their own. A common theme that came about when we introduced it to my students was persistence, where they realized, I know I can't just get into college by showing up every day. I got through high school, but now I'm realizing I have to kind of keep my foot to the pedal. I can't coast. So that level of persistence that they were able to identify was powerful, in my opinion. Another really cool moment from watching the film and then going to the website was the student seeing Enoch go from a young man to a man. And the fact that they were able to get a quick glimpse into their own future, they're like, wait a second, I know I'm here, but I could be there very quickly. And if he could do what I can do, if Caroline could do it, I could too. So those moments were pretty cool. And then after it was modeled by my group of students to the other school counselors, some of the other educators in the building, other groups started to run the same groups, use the curriculum. And what started happening is students in other parts of the school that I don't personally oversee. One student, I believe her video is actually up on the website. Her name is Zara. She came to me and she said, hey, Britt, I didn't realize that I had a voice before this whole process. I thought that, you know, high school might be it for me and my family doesn't know what the next steps might be. And I realized that I had a voice in this. So it was cool to see that it actually had ripple effects and took place in our building. And hopefully her story touches somebody else. And it was also any administration watching, the administration buying in, it was a trickle down effect where they knew that they could take a challenge, they could dedicate a day, 2 days, 3 days to this process because there was a tremendous amount of value to it. And then the kids like making videos. They make TikToks. They're on Instagram. This directly taps into that. So I just thought everything about it was spot on and where it needed to be to kind of engage students in this discussion. So I can't stop raving about this whole process. So that's my piece. I'm going to hand it back to John. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwayne. Just really, powerful offerings there. Really appreciate those thoughts, and clearly, transformational for those young people that were engaging with the curricula. Obviously the website, the videos, and the film. And so hopefully, for those of you in the audience, what you're seeing here is the connective tissue between each one of these elements that really deepens young people's reflections about and helping them to realize even more deeply that in fact they do belong in college. And so lots of different layers of engagement. And for those of you that are educators, hopefully what you're hearing from Dwayne really resonates, that you can tap into the curricula, the film, to really take young people's depths of understanding deeper. So this, I'd like to hand it back to Caroline for a second, just to talk a little bit about the potential impact for students.
So after, I mean, with the film and now working on the We Belong in College campaign, seeing and listening to all the students' stories have motivated me too personally. It's just very cool to see how a lot of students have struggled differently, but at the same time similarly, with the process of getting to college or what being in college, and how I myself thought that I was alone and I was the only one going through that at the beginning. But now I know that there are millions others out there who are going through the same thing I'm going through. And that just motivates me a lot more to persist and to, you know, and to get my college degree. Some of the excerpts from students is, one of them is, it made me realize that everyone struggles with college and I'm not alone. I should fight for my dream of going to college and not give up. Another one is, this showed me that I'm not the only one struggling with college and I'm not alone through this fight. Like, even when you guys saw or heard my story about me not getting into my dream school, that can be very heartbreaking for a lot of students. And a lot of the students that saw this in the film, on the personal statement film, you can also find more information about the personal statement film if you go to personalstatementfilm.com. But a lot of the students that saw that in the film, the first thing they thought to themselves is, wow, you know, many of us might not get into our dream school, but because they saw that, that didn't stop me from finding other options, or from going to another school. They realize that, you know, dreams come and go, and when one dream dies, you are allowing a million of other dreams to be born. So I'm just very grateful even to be working with Guest School, but I'm just grateful to be using my voice to make an impact on students, because once you give a student the chance to help another student, both of their success rate is going to increase tremendously. So this is something that we should have done a long time ago. But I think that this is something that is definitely going to change the lives of many students across the country.
Thanks, Caroline, and you know, sort of right back at you, right? Because I mean, I think if you have the opportunity to watch the film, you know, you'll see Caroline as a high schooler, and all the way through today, and being with us, and the degree to which, you know, she has supported her colleagues in high school and in college, and on behalf of the film as well as the campaign, crisscrossing the country to raise awareness. It's just an extraordinary example, Caroline, of you finding your voice, and I'm just, you know, super proud of you, and really grateful for all that you're doing for young people across the country. So having heard all of that, let's talk a little bit about what we're hoping from each of you. We need you to join us. We hope that having seen all of these film snippets and heard, you know, from Dwayne and Julie and Caroline and myself, that you're compelled to jump in. So the first thing is that you can watch the example stories, right? So we have those on our website, WeBelongInCollege.com. There are lots of videos that are organized by different challenges that young people have experienced. So you can watch those videos, and we have videos on how to create them, right? And we saw the one earlier from Enoch. We hope you'll use the digital toolkit to amplify the We Belong in College campaign, right? So the campaign launches on March 9th, and we would love to have all of you sharing with folks, you know, on all of your colleagues and young people and teachers and friends across social media, across email, so that we can create a groundswell of activity and effort to really have young people start to create these and teachers to start to use the materials. You can download the curriculum and you can request a film. And so that's a hyperlink there. And that's available on our website as well. And then you can also join us on the Twitter chat March 26th at 3 p.m. And if you have any questions whatsoever going forward, you can just text belong to 335-577 and we'll get back to you. That goes straight into Get Schooled. We'll be happy to help you navigate through any of the materials. So we've been super fortunate thus far through the process to have so many organizations become so excited about the campaign, and you can see the list of partners there from College Board to the Gates Foundation, and it really sort of goes on and on. This is how we're going to create the groundswell, right? We, as we said at the beginning, we can't do it alone. We need you. We need your organizations. As Caroline has so eloquently, offered, we should have done this a long time ago, right? This is transformational. Helping kids to understand that they're not alone is a game changer that inspires them to persist. So please feel free to text us at that 335-577 if you have any additional questions or if you want to join. We'd love your partnership. So NCAN, let me, Zinnia, hand it back to you and we can open up for question and answer.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. Just really quickly before I hand it off to Jamise to manage our questions, and again, please do submit any questions that you might have in the questions box on your control panel. I know some folks were having some problems with hearing the videos, getting the audio through. If you go to the website, I think all the videos are on there, right, Julie and John? So you're welcome to peruse that and relocate some of these. So we do apologize for any of those issues. It didn't seem like it was a mass having those problems, but we do apologize to the few folks who are having those issues. So Jamise, I'm not sure if there are some questions that we need to tag along in there. Any questions for Dwayne, Julie, or John? We're welcome. We're happy to take. So Jamise.
Yeah, thanks. So as Zinnia has said, hopefully at this time you all will submit your questions. So as they roll in, I will let our panelists and presenters go about getting some answers. So it looks like we have a question that has come in. This is more for Julie. So Julie, do you want to talk about like the film and its length and how folks can get access to it if they're interested in showing this?
Yeah,
at the organization.
Sure. So the film personal statement, the educational version of the film is about 52 minutes long, and we are distributing 1,500 free copies to schools and organizations that want to use it as part of the We Belong in College curriculum. So to get it, to fill out the form to request the film for free and to download the curriculum, you go to WeBelongInCollege.com. You go to the resources for educators page, and you'll see it right there. Get the curriculum and the film, and you fill out that form, and we will get you a copy of the film.
All right, thanks, Julie. Hopefully everyone caught that. All right, next question that we have here. I think this might be a good question for Dwayne, but anyone feel free to chime in. Can you talk more about the curriculum, what the process was going through with students in the curriculum, time spent on the various sessions and so forth?
So the curriculum is actually very flexible for whatever type of population that you have, the amount of time that you have. So I was able to carve out a little bit longer block of time, about an hour and a half after watching the film, that we were able to get through a good part of the curriculum. But it literally lays out the steps that you need to engage the students in question answering and question asking. So it was thorough, it was well done, and it hit on the notes that the educators believe that it should hit on, as well as the social workers, the school counselors. It touched on the social, emotional, and the educational aspects when viewing the curriculum.
Great, thanks, Dwayne. All right, next question that we have.
Sorry, can I just interrupt 1 second to say, John, if you scroll down on the page, don't go into resources, but scroll down. John, can you hear me?
Sorry, you cut out. No,
If you scroll down on the We Belong in College page, yeah, go down a little further, and then resources for educators right there. Click on that. Okay, now go down, and now you can click on the get a free copy of the film and classroom curriculum tab. Up, back up.
Yep, hold on, it scrolls fast.
Okay, so that's exactly where we wanted to show them. Thanks. Okay, sorry, let's go back to the question. Sorry about that.
No problem, Julie. Okay, so the next question that we have here, is there any data available on the impact of We Belong in College? And how will this be measured?
Okay, so when you, on March 9th, when you go to this page that John is showing us of the website, and you download the curriculum and the deck, the PowerPoints that goes along with the curriculum deck, you will see that part of the curriculum includes, at the very beginning of the process, asking students to fill out a very short digital survey, pre-curriculum survey, and then at the end of the curriculum unit, they're asked to do a post-curriculum survey as well. So we are actually going to get a lot of information from students' experience from those surveys, including the extent to which their sense of belonging changes, as well as information about what barriers, what systemic barriers students feel are sort of the ones that are most pressing to address from their own personal experience. So we will be getting that data. We'll also be tracking, that we'll be able to know how many schools and organizations are using the curriculum, with how many students. We'll have information about their student bodies. And John, do you want to add anything more about other things that we'll be tracking with We Belong in College?
Well, I think that, right, so as we launch the campaign, and to, sort of build on Julie's comments, we're going to, as an all digital platform, right, we are going to see a considerable amount, hopefully, of engagement. And then we'll be able to track about the depth of that engagement. So how many young people are creating videos, how many young people are texting, how many people are watching the videos, how many of those students are sharing them, how many, organizations are engaged. So I think part of it is we have some hypotheses about what this will look like, but we're going to sort of have to make it up as we launch the campaign to really see what the full panoply of impact looks like.
All right, great, thanks for that. So the next question that we have here is, when students post their stories, is there a format that you encourage them to use? Any advice on the best way for students to go about creating their story video?
Well, we have a lot of information and a lot of advice in the curriculum and on the website. So if you go to the website, you'll see there's a whole page about how to create your, if you go back to the home page of We Belong in College, John, so
yeah, going back.
Yeah, okay. But in any case, okay, so if you scroll down to create your own We Belong in College story and click on that, John. So we provide a lot of information about how to create your own story, including there is a storyboard outline worksheet, which is part of the curriculum, as well as just available on the website for students who are doing this directly off of the website on their own. We have frequently asked questions on the website and linked to the curriculum. So there's a lot of guidance. And that includes the fact that they can create a video, and once they create it, they can share it on social media. They can submit it to Get School to be considered for a scholarship. And if they don't want to create a video and instead want theirs to be a written post, that's also an option.
Great, thanks, Julie. Let's see, next question that we have here. And this may also be, Julie, you can correct me if this is already in some of the resources, but are there some other ways that students can get involved in helping promote the We Belong in College campaign?
Do you want to answer that?
Let's take over social media. Create your story, use the We Belong in College hashtag. You can they can also use the personal statement film hashtag. You know, my goal is to see that hashtag everywhere. You know, I'm tired of seeing the Kardashians. I think that hashtag is a lot more important. I'm telling you, like, once this takes off on March 9th, my only hope and goal is to see many other students across the country, so that administrators can also see that there's a lot more to us than our grades. You know, we have a lot more to offer than a 3-point-something GPA. And I know that this is going to change many lives of students. Like, I know a lot of students who are feeling like they don't belong in college because they feel like they're going through it alone. And even though they have heard my story, it may not be enough because it's only one person. But imagine if you have a couple of students who are hearing and listening to the similar story from a million of other students, the phenomenal impact that it's going to have. I mean, I cannot even put it into words, but I'm just looking forward to it. Use the hashtag, use the We Belong in College hashtag and the personal statement field hashtag. You guys can also go to personalstatementfield.com for any, you know, if you guys have like any questions.
Well, and just to build on Caroline's point too, you know, I mean, the thing that young people can most helpfully do is to encourage their friends to do the videos, right? Encourage their teachers to encourage, you know, students in other classrooms to do it, their administration to share it. So, you know, the thing that young people can most helpfully do is to get others to share those stories.
All right, thank you all. Thanks for that. So someone just wanted to share, they wanted to say that this has been truly awesome, what you all have put together, and they wish this was around when they were in school. So I wanted to share that with you all. And I guess some forethought, they were wondering, this person is also wondering, have you all thought about following like students and or something in the future? So once, you know, a student goes to college, kind of following that storyline too.
I mean, I think that's a great idea. I know we have our director of communications is on the line. He's silent right now. He probably has some comments. I mean, I think all of those possibilities are open. You know, if, you know, like in the example of, you know, Caroline and Enoch that you saw in one of the other films, I mean, they got into this work obviously before the campaign, but they got into this work and they were leaning into it so much that the opportunities just continue to grow and grow. And so what I would say is, if we find young people that, you know, they make their videos and they're just sharing and they're engaging with the campaign and with Get Schooled, and you know, I think we are very open and would be thrilled, frankly, to follow some of them as they, you know, matriculate into college and persist. We are excited about the potential to grow the campaign, you know, beyond, and you know, as part of Get Schooled's, you know, habit and practice, we develop long-term relationships with a lot of young people as they navigate to and through college, and so we'd love to have as many of the young people participating in the campaign follow that path as well.
Yeah, and I just want to add that there's kind of two different types of We Belong in College stories. Some are about the, you know, questioning whether you belong and struggling while applying to college, and the other half are about questioning whether you belong when you are in college. So when you go to the website, you'll see that the stories that we've already received that are on the website, half of them are about getting in and half of them are about getting through college. So, you know, that's a part of the story that the students are already telling. And, in the frequently asked questions, one of the questions is, how many We Belong in College stories can I make? And the answer is as many as you want. The guidance is that the best stories are about one particular time when you questioned whether you belonged, but that you can make as many as you want about as many different types of challenges that you have faced and overcome. And so you will see that there is a lot of information and guidance and advice and support for students also who are, focusing right now on getting through college, as well as those who are right now applying to college.
Thanks, Julie. The next question that we have here is for you, I believe. So is the film request only, is there like a timeline on the film request, or will folks be able to request this endlessly?
So we only have right now funding to provide 1,500 free copies. So it's kind of as soon, it's first come, first serve. However, we are prioritizing providing the free copies of the film to schools and organizations that are educating and will engage students who are low income, students of color, first generation to college students. And we're providing a very steep discount to all other organizations who also want to engage their students in creating their own We Belong in College stories.
Great, thank you. Let's see, maybe more so a question for Dwayne, but of course, as always, folks, other presenters, panelists, feel free to chime in. So for advisors working with students already in college, what are some ideas for how the curriculum can be used?
So I was able to connect with a couple alumni who are currently in one of the colleges on Staten Island to actually come back and talk to the students about their first and second year. So I had a student who's just graduated last June, and I have a student who graduated the year before. So having an opportunity to impart their wisdom about what that process is like in a community, in an environment that they were just in, I think is super helpful for those kids, and it helps them to network and to develop, once again, those soft skills of talking in front of a group, spreading their own network, that when that student gets to that same school. So my current seniors, when they get to the College of Staten Island, they now know that they have 3 people who were there, one person who was just a freshman like them, and then another person who's going into their junior year who could kind of direct them through the process. So it continues, and they exchange social media, they exchange Snapchat, they exchange Instagram. So that part of kind of just giving back not only to their students in college, but have them give back to the high school and reach out and talk to them. I think that is, you get a lot of value there as well.
Yeah, I just want to add that in the reaction we've had from a lot of higher ed administrators is that they're interested in incorporating the curriculum into their onboarding process for first year students. And that makes a lot of sense because this whole thing was inspired by the research that it was inspired by was doing just that, which was testing whether or not this kind of a story sharing process could affect the outcomes of the incoming students if they were engaged in it. And in fact, they found that it really had an incredibly powerful impact. So I think that's also the curriculum, has a lot of utility and possibilities to be used in colleges as part of that orientation process.
Thanks, Julie. I believe, John, you talked about this a little bit in some of the post and pre-survey work that you all plan to do, if I caught that correctly, in terms of just like data in this project. So the question is, do you all track data regarding college completion rates? And how long do you maintain contact with students once they've enrolled in their college of choice?
Yeah, so Get Schooled historically has not tracked, once a student matriculates into college, right? We have not tracked the degree to which they have gone through to college completion. I would say that's been part of the sort of 1.0 version of Get Schooled. Our initial founding was really focused on getting kids into college. As we have increasingly started to move to the persistence piece, right, and really focusing on that first year, I expect that we will add the ability to track kids then the degree to which they actually persist all the way through. But that's a sort of a new phase of Get Schooled going forward.
Great, thanks, John, for that. And one last question, which I think this will wrap up the webinar session for today. And I think it's one of the what I like to call the fun questions. So if you could think of one thing that has motivated you in this process, encouraged you to empower students to attend college, what would it be? What aspect of this process and project?
Caroline, you want to go ahead? Or Dwayne?
So I'll jump in. As silly as it sounds, I feel like I know Caroline, and I want to see her do well. And that drive as an educator makes me want to give more towards the students that are currently in my care. So that connection and making sure to be my best every day is presented in these moments like this. So, you know, you hear people are burnt out, this kind of resets you a little bit of self-care, gives you a little bit of hope. So that was my favorite piece of this.
In addition to that, for me, transferring from a community college to a predominantly white institution, I've made a lot of students who I witnessed they have to find like other options outside of school to make themselves feel like they belong. And the thing that I'm most excited about this campaign is that with this, I know that students are going to be able to know that it doesn't matter if we're all struggle because you're not alone. And I went through the same thing you went through, or going through the same thing you went through. And, you know, with this campaign, I just want us to create a whole chain of motivational stories. You motivate me, I motivate you. And with this, we're just going to motivate each other because at the end of the day, I feel like once young people come together, the future will have, you know, a very bright beginning. Another thing that I want to mention is that a lot of these students, some of them are afraid to share the stories for fear that they might not be heard. So I feel like this campaign actually gives students a chance to use their voice because you never know, your voice and your story could be the inspiration that somebody needs. It could be somebody's survival guide. You know what I mean? So I just want students to know that this is for them at the end of the day. This is not, you know, I don't really care about like adults, you know, this is for them. So I want all of us to work together towards a better future because if we don't, then pretty much there is no future.
All right. Well, I think, Caroline, thank you for that very powerful response. And Dwayne, I think that those are all the questions that we have for this session. Once again, I want to thank our presenters for joining us and sharing more about this campaign, We Belong in College. Please remember that this will be archived on the NCAN website under our events and trainings tab. And for those still in the call, the PowerPoint handout is available to you in your dashboard. So make sure that you access that before you leave us today. And other than that, just thank you to all of our presenters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.